Dang, she was Johnny on the spot. Did you see that?
Dang.
Like she was rolling before we was even ready. Ladies and gentlemen, got a special guest on the podcast today, Cole Harken from the Cole and Jay Fishing Channel. Do you guys do Fishing Channel, or how do you? I'm sorry, hang on. We got to roll this real quick. You got to hear the.
Ooh.
I know, right?
Ooh.
It just hits a little different, don't it?
It does, yeah. It got me in the mood. Like I was like already feeling like 100, and I'm feeling like 107.
Yeah, because as soon as that intro music hits, man, that first lick, I mean, that's Eugene. I'm rocking the Crack of Coleman shirt today, mainly because Cole and I went to lunch right before this, and I spilled some sweet potato fry sauce on my shirt that I was going to wear. So here we are. But yes, Cole Harken from Cole and Jay. Jay is not with us today. She is in town. But she is at home with their youngest son, so she is not with us today. She'll be in some videos coming up a little bit here and there. Cole basically abandoned her.
Yeah.
And it just went fishing, essentially is what happened.
Yeah, I'm being kind of a deadbeat dad this week, but we're cranking out some vids and having fun.
I mean, you can't really say you're being a deadbeat dad because you brought her to Florida. You could have left her at home in Arkansas, and then you could have enjoyed the weather in Florida. At least, I mean, I understand she's at the condo, but at least she's at the condo in Florida and not at the house in Arkansas.
Yeah, they're going to spend a lot of time out there on the beach. And what's really exciting about this trip is that, like he said, the weather is fantastic. Like, it's so cold in Arkansas this week, like 30 degrees and like drizzling rain, just dumb. But here it's been like 75, mostly sunny. And we are figuring out the gender of our second baby.
Yes, which I already know because Cole asked if I could help out with the gender reveal, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. And he's like, can I send the cannons to your house? And so when Cole and I have been fishing twice already this week, and when we got back from fishing today, the Amazon box was there, and I opened it up, and it was like blatantly obvious which one was which. And I told Cole, I was like, well, I know the gender of your baby now. I was like, so you have to wait till Wednesday, but I know now.
Yes, we should probably stop talking about it before you start
dude,
some telepathic signals.
I'm like an ironclad box. I'm not. I will ask this. Do you have like a feeling? Like, do you have in your mind like a feeling of what you think it's going to be?
Man, the whole time I've been thinking it's going to be a boy, just because like in my family it seems like there's like sets of boys. Like my dad has a brother, his dad has a brother, so it just kind of makes sense for there to be a boy.
Sure.
But it'd be really sick if there's a girl.
Well, and I asked Jay the other night when you guys were over. We had a big cookout. You guys will see my part of that video tomorrow after the podcast drops. But I asked Jay, I'm like, do you have a sense of what it might be? And she's like, not really. She's like, but Cole said those Harken boys come in pairs. She's like, so that's all I got to go on. I was like, well, hey, who knows? So, but I'm really excited to be a part of that with you guys here in a couple days. But so Cole asked the same question everybody asked, like, what are we going to talk about? Do we have like a storyboard? And I'm like, no, man, like we're just going to wing it, and we're going to talk about you and your life and all that stuff. And I've really got to get to know Cole a lot over the last couple days because just we've been on the boat together, and we haven't had a lot of contact up until this week, other than having a couple mutual content creator friends. So it was exciting to kind of get to know you a little bit over the course of the last week. But huge baseball fan. We've been talking about all the news and notes of the baseball world that's been going on the last few days. Big signing today. You were excited about Justin Verlander to the Mets.
Well, I mean, I wasn't like excited about it, but it's just like crazy. I mean, he signed 2 years for $86 million. Dude's like 40-something years old,
and he's 40. Yeah,
he said. I mean, it's not that old, but you know, in baseball terms these days,
really is.
It's like you know, like if you turn 30, they're like already writing you off, like, oh, you're going to be washed up in a couple of years. But it's awesome to see a player, you know, be as durable, even though he was injured a couple of years ago. But that Tommy John gives you like another 5 or 6 years, so he might play at least 50. You never know.
I often wonder too, like in sports, if somebody does have an injury like that, is it really that big of a? So I mean, let's say, like you said, let's say at 32, you have to have Tommy John surgery, and when you were at 32, you're in your prime, right? Like you're killing it, but then you get to take the next year and a half off. If you just have a real natural talent, that's got to kind of be a benefit to the longevity of your career.
Yeah,
to be able to take a year and a half off right smack in the middle of it and still get paid for it, because these guys are still getting paid while they're recovering from these surgeries. But that's insane.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of instances like they'll get that new elbow and they throw even harder than they could before.
They put all. Did you ever see the movie Rookie of the Year?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just like that. They tighten that ligament up. No, he was just throwing zingers after that. Do you think that maybe that's what they did to Justin Verlander? He's just throwing zingers after Tommy John surgery. I wonder if you have to pay extra to get them to tighten the tendon.
I don't know. They had to pay extra. Mets had to pay extra to get Justin. They was like how much? $86 million.
$86 million over 2 years.
Nuts.
That's got to, because pitchers always get paid more. But I was going to say that's got to affect the Aaron Judge negotiations a little bit. I mean, you got a 40-year-old dude making $34 million a year, or no, $43 million a year. I'm sorry, I had it backwards. That's got to affect the Aaron Judge negotiations at this point.
It's got to be. If Judge leaves New York, that's just like, I mean, I'm not a Yankee fan, but that's like a big L just for baseball in general, I think.
100% a Yankees fan, so I don't want to see that happen. You were a little shocked when I told you I had a Yankees tattoo on my back. I don't think you believed me.
I saw him when he put the shirt on.
Yeah,
I was like,
definitely.
I peeped over there. I was like, yeah, he's got one.
Yeah, we've already filmed it, but I actually did a podcast with Bama Beach Bum, in which I told him that I don't want to say what I said because it'll ruin it because they're not going to see that until next week. But you know what I said, and you said you were going to work on that by taking your shirt or something off today.
Yes.
You don't really have to do that. I did take my shirt off because I had to get rid of the stain. So
I'm never afraid to take my shirt off.
Hey, no, you never should be at all under any circumstances, especially, for me, it's a double-edged sword. Because, like, for me, people just run away, but they can finally see the belly. Like, Cole has termed... Well, you guys all know how like I belly my fish. I tell them they're going to get the belly. Cole has coined that tummy time with CMR, so that's been it's been a pretty fun couple days with that going on. All right, so we're going to get into it here. I've been doing all the talking, and you haven't had an opportunity to say much, which I do that a lot. Sorry. So let's kind of go back. I know you said that you played baseball in high school, and then did you play in college?
I didn't play in college. No,
didn't play in college. So when did the fishing start for you?
Oh, the fishing's always been there. I mean, since infancy, I would almost say. I mean, I can remember remember being like 2, 3, maybe not 2, maybe like 3 years old, and my mom taking me to these little creeks that are loaded with like green sunfish, which is like the most basic fish to catch. You can catch them in any little sewer ditch, and having a pole and like feeling them bite my bait, and actually going through all the motions of catching a fish, and just that initial bite got me hooked. And then as years have gone on, I've just gotten better and better and chased different species. And I mean, I'm just as addicted today as I was 5, 10, 15 years ago, and I assume it'll be that way for the rest of my life because tug is the drug, and there's so many fish to catch, and there's always a bigger one.
And we've had, I don't want to ruin it because we haven't dropped any of the videos yet, but we've had exceptional days on the water so far with you and I. I mean, it's the weather didn't quite cooperate today like we were hoping because we got some fog, but we've had some banger days. So when you met Jay. Mm-hmm. And just so everybody knows, my kids get so confused about this. So they're Cole and Jay. Cole is the guy. Yes. Jay is the girl. Gorgeous blonde that is on your all's channel. Mm-hmm. Was she into fishing when you guys met?
Yes. Like she loved to fish. She loves the outdoors. But with it being like, I mean, the sole center of my life, being fishing, we definitely got to fish more, and she got more into it being with me. But she had natural fishing abilities before we met.
So it wasn't just like a brand new game to her when you guys started dating?
Yes, it wasn't a brand new thing.
Gotcha. And so when you all started dating, obviously you guys weren't doing YouTube back then. Did you ever imagine your love for fishing would someday pay your bills?
No, it was always the dream, man. It's always been the scheme. Growing up, going through school, they talk about just the normal. Go to school, get a job, retire, and have fun whenever you retire or something like that. It's like, man, that's not the route. Like all my friends talk about going to college and becoming a doctor and whatever, normal jobs. And it's like, that's just never cut out for me. I was like, I just want to live on a boat, whether it's in Alaska, scooping up some crabs and some salmon, or just by myself, just catching fish to survive. I just wanted to fish. And it wasn't until I wasn't even really introduced into YouTube until one of my roommates hey man, I'm watching these fishing videos on YouTube. There's this dude called John B. Let's watch him. He's pretty cool. He catches a fish. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And I was like, I can do that. I like to be in front of a camera and I like to catch fish. So, and it wasn't even until 5 or 6 years after, watching my first fishing YouTube video that I was able to even start making videos. And it's just so much fun. Yeah.
And it's crazy to me that you have different levels of how you earn your living. A lot of people say professional fisherman. If you hear the word professional fisherman, they always think tournament fisherman. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing that comes to everybody's mind.
And that's what I wanted to do when I was a kid. I was like, I'm gonna be a tournament bass fisherman.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
And in my mind, and I know there's going to be disagreement on this, YouTube has almost, I'm sure, income wise, has overtaken what earnings I'll pay for a bass tournament. There's
absolutely.
No question it can't even be close.
Yeah, because most people that are fishing professional bass fishing, they're not. I mean, it depends on what their sponsorship deals look like.
Sure, absolutely.
But it's purely on winnings. They're not. Most people are not winning much. They're barely breaking even or coming up empty most of the time. So here, I mean, you can go spend however much money to make a video, but you're usually going to break even. And then if you have a video do well, you can make exponential income on that video.
Sure. And do you know who Brian Latimer is?
Yes.
Brian, and maybe there's others out there, and maybe he's just one that I know of, but I feel like no one has grasped dual wielding like he has.
I would say that, him and like a guy like Scott Martin, who he runs around with also.
Sure.
And Scott Martin's one of like the OGs, like pairing his professional career and the YouTube stuff.
And keep in mind, guys, people have been doing this for years. I mean, Bill Dance, Jimmy Houston, those guys, Roland Martin, those guys were doing exactly what Brian Latimer's doing today. They were just doing it on network television rather than YouTube. But it was the exact same thing. And he goes by Brian Latimer. I mean, he does a great job of mixing his social media and I think he was a bigger social media star than he was bass fisherman until the last couple years. And then here the last couple years, he's really come into his own as a pro bass fisherman and really, really done well. For himself, just from the outside looking in, it definitely seems. Have you ever done anything with any of those guys?
No, I haven't.
I didn't know if you had or not. There's not a lot of going on out there in Central Arkansas, right?
I mean, there's a lot of bass fishing. There's a lot of fishing, but honestly, there's not very many content creators in our space, close to us. The closest that we have is going to be
Cole's getting drug off the front of the table. We're going to try to help him out here.
Yeah, help me out, bro. I'll hold on to it. There's not a whole lot of people doing the similar things that we're doing in Central Arkansas. Within a couple of hours, you have people over in Texas or Louisiana or Mississippi or Missouri, but I mean, we're kind of the only ones where we're at doing it, as opposed to like y'all have like a whole it's like a subculture here in this Pensacola area. It is. There's a lot of people doing this, and it's really cool.
Well, and you and I had the conversation. We were talking on the boat the other day. It amazed me that I was looking for someone to film a video with in Kentucky. I had a video idea. I needed another person, and I wasn't looking for a giant channel. I was just looking for anybody that posted consistently in Kentucky, and outside of like Kendall Gray and Kentucky Ballistics, Scott, that's really it. And it was like
and the Turtle Man.
Well, he's not a YouTuber though. That was like, what were you the one that asked me if I met the Turtle Man? Yeah. I was like, there was a Turtle Man imitator that used to come to a karaoke show. But yeah, it's crazy to me that there's not more. And I think Daniel Arms said it best. There's not a lot of YouTubers in Central Arkansas or Southern Oklahoma. When you think of that, you do think more of Florida coast, New York, California. You think definitely more of that, I think, as far as like where they would be. You don't, obviously when you say content creator, Central Arkansas is not the first thing that comes to mind.
Right. Yeah. Those places you mentioned are like, content hubs, especially if you're in the outdoor space. Because there's just a lot of things to do like in this part of the country that you can't do other places. And I think people across, the nation are generally interested in these locations. Yeah.
And I had an interesting question for him off camera. A lot of people seem like if you're a freshwater fisherman, you got to do freshwater. You're not allowed to go to saltwater. If you're a saltwater fisherman, and you can't go to freshwater. And we've never really experienced that. I feel like we've done a good job of conditioning our audience for both. But you said saltwater videos do very, very well on your all's channel, where you guys are primarily freshwater fishing.
Yeah, I think honestly, a lot of it has to do. So we have a lot of people that watch our channel in Arkansas, and so people in Arkansas, like they vacation in this area. Like they get excited. When they get vacation, they come to this area and they want to do fishing. So I think it's relatable to our audience. But if we were maybe even further, like up north, maybe like Minnesota or Wisconsin or something like that, it wouldn't be as relatable because those people are never coming down here and fishing hardly.
Right. And I will say it is cool. I remember back before we were doing content creation and, you would watch a video and then you would show up down here and be like, oh my, I know where I'm at. Like I recognize this. I saw coalfish here. So other than being on the Mako, which you said you've hit the jetties a couple times, you've done a couple different things. We've been on the Mako. You went offshore yesterday. Again, we're not going to give away anything that's going on because Cole's going to be dropping all these videos. If you guys are not familiar with Cole and Jay YouTube channel, I do have all their stuff linked down in the description box below. Make sure you check them out. Guys, they're killing the freshwater game, and then when they come and they do videos in saltwater, they're doing just as good. So it's an honor to have you guys down here and hanging out, and it's been fun hanging out. Aside from the fishing, it's been cool getting to know you guys. So we'll get to the good stuff now. So if you were not a YouTuber or content creator or fisherman, what do you think you'd be doing right now?
Man, I don't know. So I got a degree in wildlife management, wildlife ecology. So that's like, I guess my quote unquote backup plan if anything goes south. I can't imagine really even doing that. But I'm really passionate about wildlife and the outdoors. And I probably would just be, running around the country, taking just jobs here and there. And just usually that's kind of how that works. You'll get stationed 6 months in one place doing one thing, and then another 6 months or 6 weeks in another place doing a sort of job. So I think it'd be kind of what I'd be doing, just kind of running and gunning, just kind of exploring around. But
Is
luckily, I get to do that with what we're doing now.
Is there anybody that does something like that has a YouTube channel, like wildlife management?
Man, I don't know. I don't watch it.
Really?
If they do, I have no idea.
I mean, because when you think about it, that would be a kind of a cool concept.
I think
for,
so, yeah.
A channel. If that's what your full time job was and that's what you were doing, that would if you obviously there's legalities I'm sure that come into play there, but. So you guys have the one little one we've already talked about, another one on the way. You guys, Cole kind of stole my thunder a little bit. We were talking about this at lunch. I don't want to say he stole my thunder because obviously we hadn't talked about it. It's not like we talked about it and then he went and did it. So Sarah and I were actually prepping to do a 24 hours at Bass Pro Shops in Memphis, Tennessee. We were planning it, and all of a sudden I flip on YouTube one morning. It's like, Cole and Jay, we spent 24 hours at the world's largest Bass Pro Shop, and I was like, well, we can't do that now, at least for 3 months, or we're going to be copying Cole and Jay. Because
you could definitely do it. We definitely were not the first person.
Oh,
to do that.
no, but it was
lots of people that have that idea.
But what was so cool about that is that's when you found out Jay was pregnant, correct? Was there, yeah.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. So yeah, we went there. We were going there for our anniversary, and we took our son with us, and it was a lot of fun. He just loves going to places like that, and Memphis is a cool place. And just one night, I guess it was that. Well, we only stayed one night, but that night she's like, "Hey, I kind of feel like I might be pregnant, and I got these pregnancy tests." And I was like, "No, you don't." She's like, "Yeah, I got 2 of them actually." And so she took the first one, and it came back. She did it wrong, and so we had to wait till the next morning, and she took the other one. She actually had 3. She had 2 more, and they both came up clear as day, positive. I was not expecting that.
Now, was the second one planned?
Yes. Yeah, more or less. It was like, you want another baby? Let's have another baby. And had another baby.
I know, as guys, it's like a lot of times we get asked, "Hey, would you want another kid?" And we're like, "Yeah, it'd be okay. We can start trying for that." And she's like, "Oh, I'm pregnant."
Yeah, it's like her doctor's like, "Yeah, it's like our first one. It was literally first try had a baby. If that's TMI, then I'm sorry, but
no, that's what it is. Yeah."
And then she was like, that won't happen. It'll take you probably several months of trying. And Jay's like, okay, well, whatever. And I think it happened first try again. I think I'm 2 for 2.
Batting 100, baby. That's what it's all about. Batting 1,000. Yeah.
Dude. So
well, and
we'll see.
I mean, Sarah and I was in the same boat because everybody told us when we had our first son, who's 18 now. You met him. Everybody's like, "Oh, you don't have to worry about it. When she stops taking birth control, you do a minimum of 6 months before she gets pregnant. No chance she gets pregnant before 6 months." So, I mean, which we were ready. It wasn't a big deal. Yeah. But so Sarah stopped taking birth control, and literally that, when her next cycle was supposed to hit, she came in 3 days later, and she's like, "By the way, I haven't started. I may be pregnant." So we at the time we lived in a little town called Eminence in Kentucky. We were 45 minutes from the closest store where you could buy a pregnancy test. So we load up in the car at 9:30 at night, drive over, buy a pregnancy test, and bring them back. And sure enough, she was pregnant. So First Timers Club, man, proud of us right there. Did you see that? Not many people can claim that, so we can for sure. So Central Arkansas, you guys, what all do you catch out there? I mean, obviously the crappie is huge for you this time of year. But you said, what's your favorite thing to fish for out there?
Man, I'm addicted to the greenfish. I'm addicted to all fishing. And what's great about Arkansas is that it has a ton of different, bodies of water that you can fish. I mean, we have all the creeks. We have we have a bunch of different geological features that make Arkansas unique. So we have big mountain ranges. We have river valleys. We got just flat farmland. And so we got the creeks, lakes, big rivers, small rivers, and we have everything, and there's a ton of different species. So we live on a lake that's really really wild, kind of just swampy, just kind of rugged lake, and it's great for fishing. So we catch bass and all the panfish, whether it be bluegill, red ear, and then crappie, and then catfish. It just kind of goes in seasons. So we're kind of in the middle of our fall crappie fishing season, which is kind of starting to fizzle out. So we've been doing that a lot recently. But whenever we get more into spring, we'll be going after the bluegill and bass, and it's just. I mean, we fish for everything.
Yeah, and it's cool. Do you do much catfishing?
Oh yeah, a ton.
Have you ever been catfish noodling?
I have not gone catfish noodling. I was actually going to go catfish noodling with this one guy, and it was going to probably be pretty awesome, but then he said I couldn't film there, so then I didn't go.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people don't get that, and it amazes me. They'll invite us out and be like, "By the way, we can't film here," and it's
and I get that.
I understand where they're coming from, but sometimes they get a little offended. Why can't you just come out and do it for fun? And it's like, well, because this is what we do to earn a living. So if we're going to come out and spend a day fishing, we need to be able to make a video, especially something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, your first catfish noodling experience, I've never gone. Everybody thinks because I'm from Kentucky that, I've noodled catfish. I have not. The thought of it terrifies me.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I'm not really scared of it. I've noodled I guess I have noodled like a little bit. Have like bullheads that get in the creeks, and you can like literally like stick your finger down in the hole and they'll bite onto it, and it's kind of a similar thing, but not like a big 30, 40 pound blue catfish or a 50, 60 pound flathead.
But here's my question: what if you stick your hand down there and there's a snapping turtle?
See, that's the deal, yo. That is the biggest deal. You have to just know. Like I think it would be more or less like, reaching your hand to like a planted catfish nest box or something that a snapping turtle can't get into. I think that's really the way to go to make sure you don't get bit by one of those guys.
Yeah,
especially the lake that I'm on. The lake I'm on is loaded with big alligator snappers. Like we caught one, I guess 3 years ago. It was 106 pounds. A really big guy.
So I mean, that thing could literally take off your whole hand.
Oh, absolutely.
But which you don't care. I mean, you're like.
Oh, I care about my hands.
Well, yeah, but I mean, so one of my biggest concerns with having Cole on the podcast was you love to play with snakes.
Yes.
And as y'all know from all my past experiences and videos, I am terrified of snakes. All snakes. I don't care if it's a garter snake, which I know can't hurt me, or it's a black mamba from Australia. They're all the same to me. Death.
Yeah.
I'm going to die if I touch the snake. But you don't feel like you get excited over the snakes, right?
Oh yeah. So like I said, combining. So just really getting out, like fishing really helps like combine like all of the things that I'm passionate about in life. It's like being in the outdoors, and when you're out fishing, you come into contact with a wide assortment of species of wildlife. And I've always been really interested in snakes, and that's kind of like my emphasis in my degree was in herpetology. So, I mean, water snakes are feisty. They're always available to catch, and they're fun to catch, and you can catch really big ones that have really cool patterns. And it's kind of like fishing. You don't really know, what the fish or the snake looks like once you get a hold of it. So we go and catch them and kind of help educate the public about them and their importance in the ecosystem. And because most of the time people see a snake in the water, they think it's a cottonmouth instantly. That's a cottonmouth, I'm going to kill it. Most of the time, though, it's not a cottonmouth. It's some non-venomous species. So if you ever linger your way over to Arkansas, we'll definitely go out in the creek and go catch some diamondback water snakes, maybe some plain belly water snakes. Get you snake bit.
I'm sorry,
get you over your fear.
I'm sorry, you said we.
Yeah.
I will be more than happy to film you at a distance while you play with snakes. Sarah would probably be game. You could probably get her to hold a snake. I would probably die.
Nah, you'd be all right. So here's the thing, one of mine and Jay's first dates, we went out herping. I was really, it was a great time of year to go out and get in the ditches and catch, these aquatic salamanders called sirens, and then go to some other places and find snakes. There's this one river. It was actually pretty cold. It was actually wintertime. And there's this snake species called the Midland water snake, and they come out when it's cold still, if it's kind of a sunny day. And I was like, have you ever been bit by a snake? Have you ever caught a snake? She said she hadn't really ever caught, a feisty water snake before. And I was like, okay. So there was this one basking on a rock. She grabbed it, and I was like, have you ever been bit by a snake? She was like, no. I was like, are you worried about it? She's like, no. I was like, okay, it won't hurt, but it'll make you bleed kind of a lot. But if you want to get bit, here you go. And I held the snake out, and I was like, I'm not going to make it bite you, but it probably will bite you. Held it kind of this far away from her, and it bit her, and she's like, ah. And I was like, if you want to catch snakes, you're going to get bit. And so that's kind of what it feels like. It's not a big deal.
Oh my God.
And that was kind of like a test too, to see if she was cool, if she was cool to hang out with me or not.
So if you want to hang out with Cole Harken, you have to get bit by a snake. That's the initiation process. Yeah. Man, I don't know what I would do. I have this serious fear of being bit by a snake, and I don't know why. I've never really.
I think it's an instinctual fear. So, people generations before us, they didn't have access to information that we have today. So you got Bubba, caveman walking around grabbing a snake, and he gets bit and it's a copperhead or something and he dies. He'd be like, no, I'm not touching those snakes.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
And and I do know enough about I know about the head shape and all that to tell if they're poisonous or not poisonous. My thing is, I don't know that I would ever want to be close enough to. To me, I'm like, it doesn't matter if it's poisonous or not, as long as I don't get close to it. I'm not in any danger under any circumstances. At that point, if you're not willing to get close to it, it doesn't matter whether it's poisonous or not. It's not going to hurt you.
Venomous,
yeah.
Venomous.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
wrong word. So actually, and I was telling Cole earlier, I'd never watched y'all's channel until the first time you guys did a collaboration with Arms Family. That was our introduction to your channel. But one of the first videos I saw of yours. This is what made me think you might be a little crazy. Was you were driving down the road, and I guess you saw some kind of rare snake in the middle of the road, and you literally pulled off the side of the road and you're like, I don't even remember what kind of snake it was, and you jumped out and you're like playing with this snake in the middle of the road because you've been looking for it. I don't even know what kind of
I think
snake.
it's mud snake. Was the black and red one?
Yes.
That's it. Yeah, that's a mud snake. So those are common snake, but their behavior, they're very aquatic. They stay in the water all the time. They don't come out on land and bask really, and they live in really thick vegetation because they're specialist feeders. They feed on those aquatic salamanders called sirens and infumas. So they're just hard to find because they're really secretive and mostly nocturnal. So every now and then you'll get lucky and want to be crossing the road, and that's almost the only time you can catch them unless you actually go out into those swamps and like rake
That's
the grass
exactly
out.
what it was.
And they're so beautiful, and it's just like, you don't expect to see a snake like that. They're just beautiful. If you've never looked up or seen a western mud snake, like Google it on your phone, check it out. Like they're glossy, just shiny black on top. Their bellies are black and red banded, and their like scales are iridescent. I mean, I'm getting pumped up thinking about them.
If I'd have been with you,
And they don't bite. They do not bite at all. They'll like musk on you and like make you smell bad from handling them, but they don't bite.
that famous last words.
They don't.
They don't bite.
They don't bite.
What's the one? Is it a hog snake? The one that like goes into like this crazy like frenzy that like flips around and makes you think it's about
those snakes are ridiculous. Those are the most dramatic animal in the world, just about. Yeah, those hog-nosed snakes. Like you like breathe on them. They're like, oh, I'm dying. And,
Yeah, I've seen videos of those. Again, it would work
It's
for
so
me.
funny.
I would run away instantly if that were to ever happen to me.
Yeah, I usually don't pick those up as often because they really just poop all over you. Like they are the smelliest snake ever.
See, this
like
is
their
like-
defense strategy works. They cover. I mean, even when they're laying there dead, they like poop all over themselves. Like that's the way you don't want to get eaten by a predator. You just poop all over yourself.
I mean, I get famous words from Cole Harken.
Yeah.
If you don't want to get eaten by a predator, so if you're alone in the woods, just poop on yourself.
Yeah,
and you'll
bears coming at you, just like pooping, like smear it all over your body. They will not eat you.
I don't even want to know how this is a proven fact. I mean,
I don't know, but I'm pretty.
You're
I'm
pretty sure that that's.
Yeah.
That might be the greatest statement in the history of ever. Just poop on yourself and nothing will want to eat you.
But you have to smear it all over your body to make it effective. Like a hog-nosed snake.
How did we get here? Like this, I love it when they go awry like this, and we've definitely went off the rails on this one.
An hour, and y'all had no idea.
Yeah, you would have no way of knowing that. So while you're here in Florida, do you have a bucket list fish that you've never caught that you really, really like dream about catching at nights?
Man, the only one that has like really been eluding me. There's a lot of fish I haven't caught that reside in these waters, but one in particular is the sheephead. Little sheepers, just those little guys. I mean, they're not really little. There's some big ones, but I've never caught one. And whenever we come here, it's always like at the end or beginning of sheephead season. They're not really like full-blown sheephead. So, and we're kind of in that time frame today, but there are some around. I've heard of people catching them.
I'm literally like 99.9% positive we were getting sheephead bite at that last spot we were at. There's no question in my mind because they wouldn't commit.
Mm-hmm.
They felt like a sheep's head bite. So I don't know. I mean, I definitely feel like you have potential to catch one while you're here, especially if you go to the jetties.
Yeah.
I feel like honestly, like use an 084 Eagle Claw hook, and that's going to be your ticket to catching a sheep's head out there at the jetty.
Yeah, definitely going back out there tomorrow morning, and we're gonna give it our all. We're gonna take a big old bucket of fiddlers, and we're not leaving until we catch one.
There you go.
I might not leave Florida.
Hey, we got you, buddy. We'll keep you right here with us forever. We got no problems. Yeah. So tomorrow or today, while you guys are watching this podcast as it drops today on Wednesday, I will tell you guys that I am actually in Deltona, Florida, while you guys are watching this, and we have got a big surprise for you guys coming up on the channel. I'm excited. I mean, without giving away what we're doing, do you think that's going to be a good idea? I think it's going
to be a great idea. It's something that I've been wanting to personally do. So I'm excited to see that you're doing it, and I'm excited to see all the future content that will revolve around said mystery item that you're going to pick up.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool because, as you guys know, we take on as you and I talked about, we take on a winter project every year. Mm-hmm. It's just a little tough to make full-time fishing content. So last year, if you guys are OGs to the channel, you guys know we did the camper. We tried to rehab an old camper. Ooh. It was not fun. I shouldn't say it wasn't fun. We enjoyed it. We bit off way more than we could chew because I'm not very mechanically inclined. I can build stuff. I'm good with my hands, but as far as like trying to revamp that whole camper, it was just not a good idea. And then the straw that broke the camel's back, we went out there one day and it was just like full of water.
Dang.
And I was like, I do not have. So I called somebody about getting the roof redone, and it was going to be like $2,000 or something crazy. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. So I called a local guy that buys junk cars. I'm like, hey, come get this camper. And he came and got it. And that was the end of the camper saga. But this next project, our winter project for this year, has a very, very high success rate, I feel like.
I'm excited to see
It would be difficult for it to fail.